process of passing one, and we took a look at their legislation. We tried to replicate it and improve upon it here in Massachusetts, and we went out to build a constituency all around the state. And we did that. And in 2008, in December of that year, we passed the Massachusetts Global Warming Solutions Act, which lowers greenhouse gas emissions as a requirement 25% below the 1990 levels by 2020 and 80% below the 1990 levels by 2050. That is the underlying statute that we have worked with, and that is the law today. We have created some 105,212 workers, clean energy workers across Massachusetts, an increase of 75% of 45,000 jobs just since 2010. If you look at Massachusetts by the numbers, you have the 105,000 jobs. There are over 6,700 clean energy companies that have been created. We're number 4 in the country in terms of solar installations, and we're a much smaller state than some of the other states that we're competing against in this arena. Again, that $11.8 billion economy in terms of what the percentage of our economy, but we are number 1 and just recently tied with California for number 1 in energy efficiency. Energy efficiency, quite frankly, the least expensive kilowatt hour you can have is the one you don't use at all. And so that's very important. So clean energy now, just between 2015 and 2016, we saw a 6% increase in growth in the Massachusetts economy. In the clean energy sector, we have 24,266 high-paying jobs in this sector. This was just during that period of time. Another 1,600 clean energy businesses that are created. And again, this is southeastern Massachusetts by the numbers. 2015 and 2016, again, a significant growth pattern in jobs for our region. This one is going to be tough for you to see, so we'll try to get that slide out to you. Or this slide, these slides that we've got here will be on our website. When you log on to our website, you'll be able to take a look at this presentation. Now, I want you to just pay attention to this one for a second. This is a map of the United States, and it takes a look at the anomalies. This is from here, that's 1 to 5 red, deep red at the end, 1 to 5 going back this way. This is the anomalies in temperature from December 2015 to February 2016. Look at that dark red up in the northeast corner of the United States. That's happening now. This isn't 20 years from now. This isn't 5 years from now. This is going on now. Our climate is changing significantly. The same thing with flood patterns all around coastal states in particular. But if you look at this, the deep blue line here, I think that might be North Carolina or South Carolina in terms of the flooding. We're way up here, but we're already getting up to major flood days in Massachusetts. We're getting very close to an average of like 10 flood days a year. When you go back to way back here, we were talking about just a couple of flood days a year. And it's because of all the rain we've been having, the increased precipitation. That is becoming the new normal that is taking place. This is what's happening with Atlantic hurricanes. You can go back 1970 to 2010, and you can see the dramatic differences that are taking place. And by the way, the insurance industry is paying attention to this, right? If you have a home on the Cape, and we heard about this from Cape residents in Massachusetts, it's really a frightening thing for them from an economic perspective, because it's getting very difficult for them to insure their properties. So that is an economic consequence. Ocean heat is really changing from the 60s and 70s to where we are. The last set of data goes all the way up to 2015 or so, and this is what is taking place based upon all of the data that we have. And the same thing with absolute sea level change. This is what's happening with sea level rise all across the shorelines in Massachusetts. Now, we might want to think we can give up hope because of what is happening at the federal level with the EPA, etc., but don't give up hope just yet. Because if you look here, you see that we have some 37 states in the United States that have some type of clean energy policy. Whether it is renewable portfolio standards, that would usually be in the dark green section. Light green would be maybe something not in statute, but their targets, their goals, that type of thing. And of course, Massachusetts up here, we're in the dark green section because we have a law. And so does, California and many of these other states have different types of statutes that they're trying to work on. So I'm trying to tell my colleagues in other states and those that care about a clean energy future that the way to work on it is to do what we have been doing. And that's working on it through making sure that our states get the policy right and not to back off, but to move ahead. And for those that sort of complain, and I had this thrown at me very early on a few years ago. I keep saying that people said I was a little bit off my rocker. Back in that state, they still say that once in a while, right, Michael? They still say that once in a while. But, back in the day, when I started talking about climate change and talking about what was happening, they would say, oh, you're going to kill the economy, you're going to kill jobs, this is going to be terrible. Well, you just saw what happened with jobs. It is possible, and it's what's been going on here, to have good climate policy enacted into law and a vibrant economy come out of it at the same time. So when you look at it here, when you look at greenhouse gas emissions, that's the purple line, they're going down in Massachusetts. And when you look at the gross state product, or our state economy, it's been going up. So nothing could be further from the truth that it's a job-killing set of proposals. Actually, it's been exactly the opposite. So with that, I wanted to, I'm going to stop right there. We really want to hear from you this evening, but just before we do, I've asked Steve Kenyon from Bristol Community College. He is the Vice President of Administration and Finance, but he is the person that has been dealing with Bristol Community College's research when they built their new science center in Fall River. And it's an extraordinary piece of work, not only architecturally, but it is a zero net building today. So the building actually, doesn't use as much energy it doesn't use any energy basically because of the way they designed it with solar. And I just wanted to give you this person, and Steve will tell you himself, he was a huge skeptic about whether or not this could be done or not. And so let me turn it over to him so he can tell you what he found out. Steve.
Thank you, Senator Pacheco. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. I really appreciate it. And projects like the Zero Net Energy Building at Bristol would be possible with the support of the Senate and Senator Pacheco and our district, certainly. It was a $30 million project, so it's not a small project by most scales. So Bristol had the opportunity to build a new academic building, one that was sorely needed. We have over 11,000 students in our Bristol County service area and about 1 million square feet under my management for the college. And so we decided we needed to improve certain programs, and those programs are biology, chemistry, nursing, dental hygiene. They were just in very dated facilities. So that's how we kind of arrived at the program of what we were going to build. And many of you may know the state policy is that all buildings, at least constructed with bond money, need to be LEED silver at a minimum. And that was how we started. I mean, that was the equipment, or typical that you'd see in most buildings. That's the way we were going to go. And then very early on, the college adopted its carbon neutral policy, and we set our goal for 2050. So we figured we needed to start this right now. So we went to the architects and the mechanical and electrical engineers and said, hey, what do you think? Can we do a little bit better than this LEED silver? And they said, well, of course. They said, what's your budget? So I said, no, the budget doesn't change. And that's where the skepticism that Senator Pacheco talks about. I said, $30 million is $30 million. We can't go back. But we really wanted to do a zero net energy, or at least close. So we wanted to look at comparable buildings in the Northeast, and there weren't any. I think now we have the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife headquarters, but that doesn't have the intense electrical loads of a lab building, or nursing, or dental hygiene. So I was fortunate, the college was fortunate to work with some architects and engineers that really wanted to do this and didn't have to do it, and they definitely took one for the team, if you will. And so we did. We set out, and we were committed, to seeing this happen. And for some of my notes. The most critical aspect.
Right into the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can everyone hear me okay? It's a little low. I gotta stoop down here. But the most critical aspect of getting the building to zero net energy was reducing the amount of energy that we consumed. And Senator made a comment before the best kilowatt hour is the one you don't use. And so we really set out to reduce the amount of energy that this building would consume. So a lot of that went into the design of the building. And there were so many little things that went into the design of this building that all came together kind of in a holistic approach and success. But there were three primary ones that are fairly, they're very substantial but fairly obvious. And one was the ground source, air source heat pump systems. So that was supported by 30 500-foot geothermal wells, for lack of a better description. And that was a substantial component to getting towards the zero net energy. And also, many science labs, as you might know, have fume hoods, which require 100% makeup air and just really use a lot of energy. So we did a lot of research, went up to some more prestigious universities to see what the latest and greatest technology was, and they were using a lot of filtered fume hoods. So we found one that we liked. We ran it by the faculty, got them to buy in, and the 22 fume hoods in the building that are now ductless and filtered are now the standard for future projects that we're using, and it's just been a great success. And the third major component to the zero net energy was a 5 acres of photovoltaic array that cover 5 parking lots at the Bristol Community College. And that was a separate project from the building, but they're very interconnected in terms of achieving the zero net energy. And that project, again, it was a separate project. We started it in 2013. It became operational in March of 2015. And that's a 3.2 megawatt photovoltaic array. At the time, I'm not sure now, but at the time it was the largest carport system in New England. And again, not having any extra money other than the $30 million we had that we needed to dedicate to the building, we used a process called the Power Purchase Agreement. And we partnered with a company, and essentially a power purchase agreement is they're responsible for the design, the construction, the operating and maintenance for a 20-year contract. Bristol Community College purchases the electricity that system produces. Again, it's about 10,000 solar panels over 5 acres. And in the summer, it provides 100% of our electricity. And in the wintertime, it's 60 to 70%. So it's a substantial project for us. And so with the power purchase agreement, you agree to buy the energy that the system produces. And so we agreed you can have an escalating rate. We agreed on a fixed rate for 20 years that at the time of the contract in 2013 was 20% less than we were paying for electricity at that time per kilowatt hour. That includes both the demand and the supply. And that price is fixed, so I know what my electric cost will be for the next 17 years left. So it's a great hedge against the inflation of electricity. So that's our story. I could go on. I'd like to entertain any questions that anyone may have.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. I just wanted to, have you do exactly what you did, because Steve is looking at it from administration and finance, bottom line, so much money to spend. And sometimes a private corporation or a retail company or an industrial sector company, or building a school, at the local level, K through 12 facility. Or we're going to be having a new city hall here in Taunton. So there's a lot of things, in particular public buildings, where we should be putting our best practice foot forward. Where we can make the right decision, and in particular with education, those are precious dollars. So instead of writing the check out for an energy bill, where most of that money goes to entities out of the state right now, we're trying to bring more of those resources back in the state. And instead of sending it out in energy costs, we can divert that and put the money back into the classroom. And that's really what we wanted to do. That's the story at BCC. There's one other story. It's at our own Fish and Game headquarters in Westboro, Massachusetts. They have 150 offices in Westboro. And believe it or not, those offices today, it's net zero. So they operate all of those offices. The facility itself actually generates more energy than they use in the course of a year, and they also did it in combination with solar on the roofing and solar on at the facility, and the way they built the building from the beginning. And it's a lot easier when you're building a new building, but it also can be done with the existing built environment. So I just wanted to thank you for being here, Steve. We're going to turn it over to the citizens now.
Thank you very much.
So again, we've got Senator Barrett, Senator O'Connor, we have Senator Brady here, who are going to be listening to you. What I would like to do, I'm going to try to call you up in order of people that signed in and indicated that they would like to say something this evening, and then if we're still here when we have time, we'll open it up for anybody who has not signed in. If you care to make a statement, you certainly are welcome to do so. When I call your name, we have a microphone to my left and to my right at the bottom of the aisles. To come over to the microphone, and the floor will be yours. I ask you to keep it within a couple of minutes, testimony, and hopefully then be able to get to everyone. Carl Rodriguez, I think, from Fall River. Carl? You're up next.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Camille Rodgers. I live in Fall River and being a sympathizer of Green Justice Coalition, also supports Solar Energy Access for All Act H3396S1831 and H2706S1846, Environmental Justice Act H2913S426, and Community Empowerment Act H1745S1834, as long as they include the following: solar energy access for all. We all pay for clean energy programs on our electric bills, so we demand and we deserve equal access to solar power and clean energy projects. Barriers like income or housing type shouldn't be a barrier to access to solar energy or any other kind of projects like clean air, clean water, or accessible noise. We also need environment justice, which is the equal protection and involvement of all people with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environment laws. We all should be protected from pollution. We all should have access to government, and supplemental environment projects should be funded by the violators of such laws. Another important point is community empowerment. Local communities should choose what types of renewable energy projects they want to support with their electric bills. When we spend money to bring in fossil fuels, that money leaves our local economy. We should invest in clean energy to create clean energy jobs in our communities. Energy supply and environment issues should not be left in the hands of private for-profit or politicians' interests, which doesn't mean they should not be included. As a final note, by increasing solar energy and other similar projects and rebuilding local economies in a democratic way is a much bigger work than fighting climate change. It's transforming the way we live in our planet. And we all know we just have one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carl. And Carl, if it's possible, Carl, if you want to leave us with your statement, that would be helpful. Those individuals that are reading the statement, please make sure that we have it, because we want to be able to be back in touch with you as we go forward. I can tell you, Carl, that a lot of those pieces of legislation are filed. They'll be heard actually by Senator Barrett and Senator Brady in the Joint Committee on Energy, Telecommunications, and Utilities. And I know that all of the members of the panel here tonight care very deeply about community empowerment and making sure citizens have the option to essentially look at ways in which they can create their own grid. That is something that there's a whole range of citizens that are out there that are advocating for that. So thank you very much for your testimony. Bruce Hughes from CCPC. Maybe I'm pronouncing the name wrong. Doug Hiron from Rehoboth. They didn't want to speak. That's where it is. Okay. That's why nobody's getting up. All right, I get it. Okay, Elizabeth from Sharon. Elizabeth Sefcock, is it?
Sifter.
Sifter.
With an E.
Elizabeth, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I'm short, so I'll just take this on. Thank you all for being here. I left my notes at home, so I'm going to speak extemporaneously.
I got a feeling you won't need them.
No. But first of all, I'm really honored to meet you all, Senator Pacheco, and everyone else. Pacheco, I'm from California, so I'd probably say Pacheco. But in any case, I'm really honored and very heartened to see the work you're doing, and it makes me feel much better about the world when I look out and see it. I'm a recent resident of Sharon as of October 2016, having mostly grown up in California but moved from Delaware. I came to Massachusetts thinking that work I had started to do with environmental issues, and as a grandmother and as a retired teacher and as a person that loves the earth, I would be coming to Massachusetts, and because I knew that a lot of good stuff was going on up here because we studied it. So number one, that is true, but also number two, there is a lot of work that we still have to do. And so one of the things that I guess I want to say in this speaking right now is that I think every day as I look out and I see things that are going on politically, environmentally, and trying to figure out how do we get through all of this noise. One of the things that's coming to me every day is that when you think of renewables, clean energy, it is the answer. It is the answer. It stands on its own grounds because whether you deny climate change or environmental degradation or any of those things, or whether you believe in it, it still involves reality and action. And really, in my opinion, without moving to renewables, clean energy for all, we really aren't going to save the planet. So we can talk all we want, we can deny or not, but so the work that you're doing really has a broader range, and that is that who we think we are, especially in Massachusetts. So I want you to keep working on it. I want to support you in my own town of Sharon in small ways, because we can also become renewable towns. We can become green towns, and there are all kinds of ways to do that. And I want to let you know right now, I plan to be working on that myself. So in closing, I thank you all. And also, growing up for most of my life in California, I always thought of myself that we were number one, but I will tell you, I'm happy to be number one in Massachusetts now. When it comes to environmental issues, thanks.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us this evening. James, your friend, James? Taunton?
Okay, I try to write my comments down just so I can stay on point, because I can go way into the weeds with you guys.
Okay, well, just get up nice and close to the mic.
Okay. Good evening. First, I would like to thank Senator Pacheco for everything that he has done for championing the Global Warming Solutions Act of 2008, to advocating for this committee, and for allowing us all the opportunity to speak to this committee about our clean energy future. As I stated at the Commonwealth Conversations Forum in Fall River back in February, with the state of the federal government and the lack of leadership from the governor's office, we need your progressive leadership now more than ever. My name is James Dufresne. I'm a lifelong resident of southeastern Massachusetts, and I currently live in Taunton. I'm also a volunteer node coordinator for 350 Mass South Coast. We are concerned about the impacts of climate change and are advocating for a fast and fair transition to 100% renewable energy in Massachusetts. Boy, I have so much to say, but I don't know how many people want to speak, so I'll limit it to as much as I can. I do look forward to more in-depth discussions with you going in the future. So let's start with pipelines. How can we have a serious discussion about a clean future until we put the past to bed? Pipeline proponents continue to push for more pipeline infrastructure, including cutting down trees to light pipe through Otis State Forest, proposing compressor stations in Weymouth and also in Rehoboth, and then the ludicrous idea to have 2 Gillette Stadium-sized LNG tanks in Acushnet, even after the Kane decision by the Supreme Judicial Court, even after the state Senate voted 39-0 against the pipeline tax, and even after the governor's executive order establishing an integrated climate change strategy for the Commonwealth signed last September. If we have any chance of meeting the goals of the Global Warming Solutions Act, we cannot continue to take 1 step forward and 2 steps back. We are asking you to pass some anti-pipeline legislation this session to send a clear message to the fossil fuel industry. of the session, how about legislation mandating utilities fix gas leaks and stop charging customers for gas that never reaches their homes? Next, according to a recent op-ed in the Worcester Telegram by former Worcester Mayor Joe O'Brien and Mass Clean Energy Future Mark Breslow, approximately $20 billion per year goes out of state to fossil fuel companies. That's half our state budget. In order to reclaim some of this money, I ask you to support Senator Eldridge's bill, Senate 1849, and act transitioning Massachusetts to a 100% renewable energy. Beyond this, we should raise the renewable portfolio standard, remove caps on net metering, and finally pass carbon tax legislation.
Yes, yes, yes.
And finally, all that wasn't enough, I implore the Senate to join Senator Pacheco in pushing the governor to act on South Coast Rail via SOTA as part of addressing the transportation sector's impact on climate change. We waited long enough. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, James, and just so you'll know that Arcadia, the organization that is doing a lot of work with environmental protection and also a clean energy future, had a number of the same things you just talked about in their proposal today before the Environmental Committee at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And as you correctly said, the Massachusetts Senate, we all took a position the last time around about the pipeline, saying that we were opposed to the pipeline tax because these companies were just interested in having the general public finance, their project, and we all said no to that. And I suspect if it comes up again, we'll be doing the same thing. So I thank you for being here this evening, and I want to congratulate 350.org, all volunteers, all the work you're doing to protect our fragile environment and pushing these policy items. It's very, very important that you continue to do so, because as we move forward in the session, Senator Barrett's going to be hearing testimony, Senator Brady will hear testimony. We then will have an opportunity to act on legislation if it comes over from the House of Representatives, if it gets, we can get the votes out of committee on some of these bills, and then when it goes through the House of Representatives, then it comes over to the Senate, and then we're able to start discussing how we're going to, meet the broad goals that you mentioned in all of your statements. All of these bills, there are literally, out of all the years I've served in the legislature, and this goes way back, Senator Barrett actually has served in the legislature twice, many, many years ago, and then came back again after retiring from the legislature, coming back. And I think you'd agree with me that this year, this is the most amount of clean energy legislation that I've seen filed in the last 25 years. And that is coming from the citizenry all across the state talking to their legislators, and legislators responding to those citizens. So that's what this is really all about. So thank you. So Peggy Patton from Wayland. Peggy?
Thank you, Senator, so much. I'm Peggy Patton from Wayland. I helped write the smart meter opt-out bill sponsored by State Rep Tom Conway in 2013, before most people even had heard about wireless meters. I helped develop the wireless overlay district in Wayland. Our town meeting has kept Wayland free of wireless water meters for the last 8 years. It hasn't been easy. I am a 3-time cancer survivor, and I need to control my radiation exposure. I've had enough radiation for a lifetime. sensitivity, neurological conditions are more susceptible to electromagnetic sensitivity. We need to protect people from harm. There are already 1,800 independent studies. These are peer-reviewed studies that show biological effects from RF exposure. I ask you to go to your website, bioinitiative.org. It was published in 2012, and it shows all these studies. Many people in Massachusetts already have hardwired their computers and use landline phones to protect their health, and they live away from cell towers. The only thing I can't control where I live is a wireless meter. I told the electric company to get off my property twice. I came home one day and they installed the electric meter when I wasn't home. They had no permit, they did not have my permission, and they didn't care. Please pass Senator Moore's bill S-1864, an act relative to utilities, smart wireless meters, and ratepayers' rights, and let citizens decide for themselves what risks they want to take with their health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peggy. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Russ Stornley from Framingham. Russ?
Excuse me. This is the actually the second.
I think you might have changed it off.
Oh, okay. How about now?
There you go.
This is the second Clean Energy Corps meeting that I attended. Unfortunately, last week I could not manipulate my schedule to get here. Today I chose to use the car with the crappy gas mileage to make sure that I would get here in time. The car is only reading 90 miles per gallon at the moment. I would say that Senator Pacheco is correct. According to the ACEE, Massachusetts is now #1 tied with California for efficiency. But actually, for the 4 or 5 years before that, Massachusetts was just #1. So California has caught up to us. On the other hand, California has 5 to 6 times the number of electric vehicle cars than Massachusetts has. We could do better there. There are some other things that California does. There's a city in California, Lancaster, California, where the mayor is a Republican, which has mandated that every new house in Lancaster has to have solar or has to contribute to a solar fund. That should be a no-brainer in Massachusetts. I understand that there are a couple of different carbon tax or carbon dividend bills in the legislature. I think they are a good gesture. My understanding is that one of them starts at $20 per ton of carbon. My only problem with that is I would double or triple it. I would start at $40 per ton. I would increase it each year, $10 per ton, until the amount of carbon in the atmosphere begins to decline. I think realistically we need a price signal, and $20 per ton is not enough of the price signal. There's a variety of proposed carbon fee and dividend systems proposed. One I would consider, since my wife and I had to redo our insurance recently, is an energy savings account where the money collected by carbon tax is put into a fund for each Massachusetts taxpayer. I would do it so that the lowest quintile gets 150% of the dividend, the middle gets 100, the top gets maybe 50 or less. I don't care. I've already bought the electric car. That's basically more or less what I have to say, except for the fact that realistically, it would appear that in Washington, we cannot count on Trump to do much in the way of climate. I would propose or would urge Massachusetts to ally with the other states in Reggie, ally with the left coast, and produce a climate tax agreement whereby we on the left coast and the Northeast and Canada decide to go it alone and price carbon.
Thank you very much, Russ. And you have a couple of people sitting at the table. I think you may know this. Senator Barrett is the chief sponsor of the bill that is for carbon pricing, and having that carbon price that is collected going back to, collected from the polluters, and then actually going back to the citizens, because there is certainly a cost that we all pay every time we use carbon, and it's part of that is in public health care costs, actually. So there is a cost to carbon. Senator Barrett is a lead sponsor on that. I have a different carbon pricing bill. It actually puts the administration in the position where if they do not meet their goals, because they have said that they are opposed to carbon pricing, but they've been on record in favor of the Global Warming Solutions Act requirements and in favor of the 2030 requirements out of the Paris Agreement. But to get there, we need all the tools we can muster to make sure we meet those requirements. And the bill that I filed basically said that if you do not meet that first requirement, then it's an economy-wide price on carbon that would go into effect automatically. And then if they still chose not to do it, then very similar to what happened with the Kane decision, we could then go into court, and the court would uphold what we are asking to be done if we get the bill correct when we pass the bill. So I'm hearing you loud and clear. It's been a common theme in a lot of the hearings that we've had, and there are different strategies for a number of different bills that we're looking at here, and we're going to work together to try to come up with the best strategy that we can come up with to get these bills passed. As far as the EV vehicles, am I hearing you correctly? You were driving one tonight?
I drove the long distance car.
Oh, I see.
This
Okay.
is my wife's original car.
All right.
It's a 2013 Volt. So I charged it in Framingham, drove to work in Southbridge, charged it in Southbridge a little bit. I don't have a level 2 charger there, and then drove it here. So far, it's reading 90 miles per gallon for about 80 miles.
Well, you're living in the, and by the way,
car.
Russ is not living in the future. He is living in the present. And that is what is happening out there. Many people are making these choices. Congratulations on the choice you've made, because that is going to be the future. We have a goal now of how many EVs we have to deploy?